Hey everyone, welcome to episode 43 of Piv's NXT Point of View podcast. My name is Bill Pivets. If you want, follow me on Twitter at bpiv_sports, and please rate and review the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, and even on YouTube where I post the shows now. So this week was NXT TakeOver London. It was a really good show. I'll get into my review of the overall show at the end, but it wasn't my favorite TakeOver special, but that's not demeaning the show in any way. It's just some of the stories and some of the matches, one in particular, just rubbed me the wrong way. Didn't give me that overall excited feeling as some of the other shows, some of the other TakeOver specials. But the show began with Triple H in the ring saying that even he got his ass kicked on Sunday, he wasn't missing this show. And he said that the NXT crowd wanted this, and this is your night. And he raised his hands up and said, "We are NXT." And the whole crowd began chanting NXT, which was really cool. I mean, it takes away of kayfabe a little bit that Triple H got his ass kicked on Sunday and he's here on Wednesday, but he admitted that, so he didn't look like he was in pain, but that's a small miss in my book. But the show began with Asuka versus Emma, and Dana Brooke was at her side. At the opening bell, Asuka went for the roundhouse kick, but Emma was able to dodge it. A little later, Asuka took out Emma with a nice hip attack from the apron. She went after Dana, but then Emma attacked her from behind and began her turn on offense. Asuka then landed some Daniel Bryan type kicks. Emma was back on offense as she locked in the dilemma and then connected with the Emma Mite sandwich. She took her time trying to lock in the Emma lock, which allowed Asuka to put her in an ankle lock. They then pulled like an Eddie Guerrero type move. Dana threw in a belt. Asuka knocked Emma down and then picked up the belt to throw it away. The referee got to his feet. He was knocked down right before this. Thought that Asuka used it, but he didn't disqualify her. Emma rolled her up from behind, tried to get the quick pin, but she was able to kick out. After that, Asuka didn't lock in the Asuka lock. Dana distracted the ref as soon as Emma tapped out. The ref then sent Dana to the back, and Asuka connected with the roundhouse kick to get the win. Overall, it was a really good match. I liked it a lot. I was just surprised that Emma got as much offense as she did, but her toying and taking her time with Asuka definitely led to her downfall. Asuka is one of my favorite wrestlers in the WWE right now, male or female. Her character, her moveset, her personality, everything like that just clicks with me for some reason. I don't know why. I don't think I can relate to her at all. She doesn't cut promos. I have no idea what she's about. I could just take her seriously. There's nothing that she jokes about. There's nothing that like rubs me the wrong way. But I don't know. It was just a really good opening match. I didn't care for the ref bump as early as it was. I kind of want to see that as like in the co-main or in the main event. But the way it played out into Emma and Dana using it to their advantage, or trying to at least, it was all right in my book. Second match was the NXT Tag Team Championship match of Dash and Dawson versus Enzo and Cass. First thing I noticed is, what the fuck was Enzo Amore wearing? He was wearing these leopard overalls with like leather overalls with like leopard print straps. It was just the weirdest thing. And then if you flipped it over, he had the British flag underneath. I don't know what he was doing. It was weird. Granted, it's Enzo Amore, so I shouldn't be surprised, but nonetheless, this outfit was just weirding me out. Minutes into the match, the champs were wearing down Cass in their corner. Enzo was able to come in, but he focused on the wrong man, and it allowed Dash to knock him out of the ring, and they focused on Enzo's left arm. Enzo was able to break free with a nice second rope tornado DDT, and he made the tag to Cass, who hit Dawson with a spinning side slam. He went after Dash, and then Dawson took him down with a chop block to the same leg that they injured about a month ago. They went for that diving knee breaker that they did, but Enzo was able to break it up. Cass and Enzo hit the rocket launcher, but Dawson pulled Enzo off of Dash for the pin. Dawson then threw Cass into the steel steps, and then Enzo took him out. He went to the top for a huge splash, but Dash and Dawson caught him with the Super Shadow Machine to retain the NXT titles. That last final sequence was amazing because you had Enzo and Cass almost get the win with the rocket launcher, and then you had Dawson just pull him away at the last possible moment. Literally, the ref was like so close to counting the 3. And then Enzo, you thought he was going to do it, go to the top and get the win to pull it out for his team, but Dash and Dawson connect with their finisher. Like I said, it was just a great finishing sequence. I'm actually surprised. I don't know, maybe it's a good thing that they kept the titles on Dash and Dawson, but I was kind of hoping for Enzo and Cass to get the win here. They've been in NXT for so long and they haven't gotten the tag titles yet. Granted, I've said this before that I think they should have put the tag titles on them in Brooklyn. That crowd would have erupted. Even here, it wouldn't have been a bad idea just to give them some title run. but it would have hurt the credibility of Dash and Dawson as a tag team. So keeping the tag titles on them definitely helps build the tag team division in NXT. And I think their next opponents are going to be Chad and Gable. Nope, that's one person. I think their next opponents are going to be Jason Jordan and Chad Gable whenever the next TakeOver special is. I think there's one before WrestleMania, so it might be around that time. But as for Enzo and Cass, I'm just not sure what's next for them. You saw what happened to Blake and Murphy after they lost the tag titles. They're kind of in purgatory. Same thing with the Vaudevillains. They don't really know what to do with them. So I think at this point that I think Enzo and Cass belong in the main roster. They've been in NXT for 3 years, if not longer, and there's really not much besides winning the tag titles that they've accomplished or that they have left to accomplish. So I think it's time that they just go to the main roster. They could definitely use a new tag team up there because I can only see so much of New Day, Usos, and Lucha Dragons. So Enzo and Cass, I think, will be a new dynamic to the main roster. But I did note that before this match, I was kind of thinking that if Enzo lost this match, that Cass and Carmella would turn on him, kind of like he cost him another opportunity at the tag titles. So that was where my head was at. If they lost, that they would have had this feud going at it. But if they want to keep them as a team, obviously it's the right decision not to break them up. We got a Nia Jax hype video and then a video package highlighting the Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews match, which was the third match on the card. And this was probably the match I was least excited for. I get the builds. Crews eliminated Corbin, and then Corbin cost Apollo Crews the NXT title match a week later. But I don't know, it's just back and forth. There's really not much of there's a story there. It's just, I just really didn't get invested in it for some reason. Because I was all into the Bayley Nia Jax match. I was into the tag title match because they've been building at Enzo and Cass for so long. And the attack on Cass by Dash and Dawson, something I could get invested in. But this one just seems a little lackluster to me. But as for the match, it started out slow. Crews came off the ropes and landed a nice dropkick. Corbin then tossed Crews over the top rope, and he landed face first onto the steel steps. And Corbin actually remained in control for a little while, which kind of dragged the match down for me as well. Crews countered the end of days, and he connected with a nice heel kick, and then his standing moonsault for a near fall. A little later, Crews came out of the corner, went for another clothesline, but Corbin caught him and hit the end of days to win. In my predictions, I predicted that Apollo Crews would win. I actually predicted that Enzo and Cass would win too, so with this, I'm actually 1 for 2 right now. My reasoning is because I thought a win here for Crews would propel him into the NXT title picture, which bodes for my main event prediction. But it works out for Baron Corbin. He was kind of in purgatory as well, just either taking big losses or not really moving up in the card. So a win here over Apollo Crews could lead him to an NXT title match, and a loss for Apollo Crews doesn't really hurt him too much. He could always get that win right back. And I don't know, Apollo Crews is great. It's just this match itself, it was all right. And Baron Corbin just looked gassed at the end of this. He looked tired. He was exhausted. So I don't know. It was just the dynamic between these two. It didn't click for me. We then got a Sami Zayn vignette that aired, and it said that he was returning on next week's episode of NXT. So we got another main event guy coming back to the roster. Greg Hamilton interviewed Nia Jax. As she was cutting her promo, Asuka appeared off camera, and Nia Jax said something to her and walked towards her. And then Asuka walked away, and Nia Jax continued the rest of her promo. Fourth match was Bayley versus Nia Jax for the NXT Women's Championship. There was no Ava Marie at ringside because I can only imagine how ruthless that London crowd would have been. Pretty much the whole match was a David versus Goliath battle. Obviously, Nia Jax being much bigger than Bayley, just dominating her. Bayley got a couple shots in early, but it was just Nia Jax pretty much the whole match. Bayley wanted to connect with the flying elbow. Nia Jax didn't go down. She connected with the second one. She went for a third, but Nia Jax just shoved her out of the way. She locked in a triangle choke early, but Nia Jax just picked her up and placed her on the top rope. She went for a superplex, but Bayley knocked her down and connected with the senton splash. Nia Jax easily kicked out and then just tossed Bayley across the ring. She hit 3 Samoan drops, and at this point, Bayley was just lifeless. But for some reason, and somehow, she kept on kicking out. She then landed 3 leg drops to the back of Bayley's head, and Bayley still continued to kick out. Bayley slowly made it to her feet at this point, but Nia Jax hit a corner splash, and Bayley just fell to the mat yet again. And at this point, the crowd was just deflated. It looked like they just accepted the fact that Nia Jax was going to win the Women's Championship. She went for a Super Samoan drop, and Bayley locked in a guillotine choke from the top, brought Nia Jax to the ground. But Nia Jax stood back up and slammed her down. Bayley locked in the choke again, and Nia Jax slammed her a second time. Nia Jax kind of took her time covering Bayley, which allowed her to jump to her feet and land in the triangle choke for a third time. At this point, Nia Jax fell to one knee, two knees, and she was in a sitting position, and Bayley was pulling all the way back, and Nia Jax had no choice but to tap out, and Bayley retained her NXT Women's Championship. Now, while this wasn't definitely the most technical women's match I've ever seen, it definitely told a great story. You had Bayley, this underdog character that's fought through everything to get to where she's at, winning the NXT Women's Championship. And then you have Nia Jax, this beast of a woman, to be honest, and could easily take it away from her. And Bayley just kept fighting from underneath, coming back, doing everything she could to take this woman down, and finally took her down with a guillotine choke and made her tap. I am looking forward to see how Nia Jax kind of reacts to this. Granted, she wasn't pinned, but Bayley definitely made her tap out. So I just want to see how they play it off with her character going forward. But in the meantime, with Nia Jax getting defeated like that, who's next for Bayley? I think it's kind of soon for the Asuka Bayley match, and unless they go back to Eva Marie, there's really nothing else for Bayley right now. Emma with the loss there, she's not in line for a title shot. Dana, no way. And like I said, Asuka, Nia Jax, and Ava are the only ones. So Bayley's kind of in a holding pattern right now until another challenger comes her way. We got hype that there will be a 4-team match next week. Jason Jordan, Chad Gable against the Vaudevillains, against the Hype Bros, against Blake and Murphy. That should be an amazing match. Just those 4 teams alone, they are very good teams. Granted, Hype Bros are the weaker of the 4 teams, but they'll be able to carry their own without a doubt, provide a different dynamic compared to the other 3 teams. We then got the NXT Championship hype video going back on how this match came about, which then led to Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe for the NXT Championship. The crowd already began a "This is awesome" chant, and they were right. Seeing Prince Devitt against Samoa Joe was pretty awesome. And I think the crowd was pretty much 70-30 in Balor's favor to start the match. Balor landed a drop kick, which sent Joe to the outside, and then hit him with another one through the ropes. He hit a running drop kick into the steel steps, and then went for the double foot stomp, but Joe moved, and Balor landed on the steel steps. It was then Joe's turn to be on offense. He landed a running splash, and then immediately followed it up with the jumping kick. He stopped on Balor in the corner, and then he hit the running boot, similar to the Broski boot, but a lot more vicious. He continued with an atomic drop and a running big boot, but Balor moved out of the way of the senton splash. Joe then kicked Balor off the apron and then launched himself through the ropes onto Balor. He had him in a modified Boston Crab, and then he transitioned into a crossface. Balor ducked the clothesline, hit his own tornado DDT, but Joe took Balor down and went to the top rope. Balor sprung to his feet and connected with a kick to the head and followed it up with a springboard splash to the outside. He landed a double foot stomp to the back of Joe, and then Joe immediately kicked out. He landed some kicks and then the sling blade. Joe dodged the shotgun drop kick and hit his own senton splash. He set Balor up for the muscle buster, but Balor rolled through for a pin attempt. He then connected with the Pele kick, and then both men just laid out flat. So at this point, they were both getting to their feet, trying to will the crowd. At least Balor was trying to will the crowd behind him. They went back and forth with strikes and kicks. Joe dragged Balor from the apron into a sleeper hold position. He went to drop down for the Coquina clutch, but Balor rolled through and landed another foot stomp. He hit a second sling blade and then 3 shotgun drop kicks in a row. He went to the top for the coup de grace, but Joe blocked it. Joe hit another heel kick, but Balor knocked Joe off the top and then hit the coup de grace to retain the NXT Championship. I know there was a lot there, but it was those last, again, 5-6 minutes or so with them two setting up for each other's finishers and trying to get the win, especially Joe with his muscle buster and Coquina clutch attempts. Because we've seen Joe do it twice before leading up to this match that he locked in and made Finn Balor pass out, that you thought it was going to happen a third time tonight. But Finn Balor, similar to Bayley, willing his way to come from behind and hit his finisher to get the win. But it was a really good match. I think it was the match of the night, with the tag team match right behind them as well. Like I said, I predicted Samoa Joe to win. I'm not disappointed in the finish, because I think building around a long-term champion like Finn Balor, who's a cornerstone of NXT right now, It's a good thing that they keep the title on him. But I'm just surprised we didn't get at least one title change, whether it's the tag team titles or even this match here. But building long-term, having champions hold their titles for a long time, it's a good way to build credibility around not only the championship, but the champion themselves. Like I said with Bayley, I'm just confused or concerned on who's next for Finn Balor, because he defeated Samoa Joe, I guess Baron Corbin, but he only has one big win under his belt right now against Apollo Crews. I think another string of matches against quality opponents can lead to a title match. I'm also surprised we didn't get to see either Sami Zayn or Hideo Itami, whether it's a Hideo Itami heel turn on Finn Balor if he's the one that attacked him. But my reasoning is, with Samoa Joe winning, I could have seen one of them come back and set up the next program leading into next year. But with Finn Balor as a champion and no one else after the match, it kind of leaves a question mark on what's in the future. But overall, like I said at the beginning, it wasn't my number one TakeOver special, but that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy this at all. The opening women's match was amazing. The tag team championship was really good. Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews was probably the only negative on this special. And even though, like I said, it wasn't a technical classic, but the women's championship, it told a great story of Bayley just being this underdog champion. And then you just heard my opinion on the main event. But next week, we have the 4-team Fatal 4-Way match. Jason Jordan, Chad Gable, Hype Bros, Vaudevillains, and Blake and Murphy. And the return of Sami Zayn. So next week is looking like a good show already. So that was episode 43 of Piv's NXT Point of View podcast. I'll be back next week. Peace.